On Spotlight this week, we chat exclusively to the IFTA-winning actor Mo Dunford and Anya Taylor-Joy. Spotlight in association with Space 2. Welcome to Spotlight with me, Lisa Cannon, here at the Stella Cinema Rathmines in Dublin. Now, he's just won an IFTA for his lead role in the Apple TV film Night Ride. It's a gritty drug cartel drama, all shot in one take around Belfast City. And he's currently trending on Netflix with the 70s horror remake Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yes, it's Irish actor Mo Dunford, who sat down exclusively with me in Space 2 to talk about the greasy pole of acting and how now it's his time to shine in Hollywood. Mo, you're very welcome to Spotlight.
I'm delighted to be here,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Listen,
Brilliant.
Congratulations. You are riding on a crest of a wave at the moment. Not only have you Night Ride, you executive produced that. We'll talk about that in a minute. You have an IFTA win, Best Actor. Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
And of course, Netflix. I mean, you're everywhere. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. How are you feeling right now? It's a big one.
It's the 2 years have sort of encompassed a lot, and there's been no work, and then there's been random opportunities that have all culminated into these past 2 weeks. So I'm feeling grateful.
Now, I did watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I did say to you before we started the interview, I'm just horror and me, we don't gel that well, but I sat down. I get bad nightmares. But I was sitting down, and I just thought your performance was brilliant. Not only crafting that accent, but also kind of the entering that genre that everybody loves, 1970s horror classic. How was that for you?
Horror was never big for me either. It was never my forte, but I loved the original, like yourself. My brother introduced me when I was 16 years old. We watched it on a small computer screen, and it needs to be seen on as big a screen as anything you can get, the original. But I remember being very taken by the original Texas Chainsaw and what they could achieve with a low budget, minimal gore, and a small sort of ex-Austin Film School graduates made it, So that made an impression on me, and then 9 sequels later, in the first lockdown, opportunity presents itself to go out to Bulgaria and look Leatherface in the eye. And I mean, what else are you going to do? You're going to take it. So it was fun.
Mo won a Best Actor IFTA for his role as Budge in Night Ride, directed by Stephen Fingleton, a one-take white-knuckle ride thriller about a drug cartel filmed in the streets of Belfast. The film was a tough shoot, with Mo firmly at the wheel for the full 90 minutes. But trouble did ensue on set when certain locals didn't want the crew filming. Things then got a little dangerous.
It was a week before the riots in Belfast last year. And we entered this location, and they were quite friendly to us in the early stages, but as the days went on and we were filming there every night, things got a bit more heated. And there's a bottle thrown at me from the top of a high-rise, and that's in the shot. But it wasn't just thrown at me, it was thrown at all of us. We were all sort of targeted. And that's just I put it down to the times we were in, really. We were fortunate enough to be working in a lockdown, but things weren't all good in Ireland, in the north. So it was quite heated there. And many things sort of added to the film, like little...
Which give it a bit of weight.
Which give it a bit of intensity,
yeah,
give it a bit of the police pulled us over on any given night. There's a great actor called Jordan. He plays Troy. He's amazing. And I'd be driving, and I'd see these flashing lights, and I'd see that it's Jer's being pulled over. I was, oh, that's Jer being pulled over tonight. Okay. And then by the end of the night, I'd be pulled over.
And that was just the way it was?
That's the way it was, because Stephen is of that mind again. You're asking me how did we pull it off? I don't know.
I don't know how you pulled it off. There's the actor doesn't even know. How do I know?
I don't know how we pulled it off, but it was a team. It was a team behind it. It's me on camera.
Mo took an executive producer role on Night Ride, now a more common leap for many actors. But for Mo, there was a deeper reason to sign on as a senior production player.
This was a total different kettle of fish. And the exec credit was, for me, was being part of the team. And you come in on day one, say a month before we start shooting, and I'm in Waterford and Zoom, Ben is up in Sligo, Stephen is up in Fermanagh, and we plot through how we're going to pull off this. It was essentially like a heist. How do you make a one-take movie in Belfast in lockdown? So it was part of being a team, and I hadn't had an experience so collaborative like that for a film. So that was all of us being team-based. And that was really, really good, because I couldn't have just come on day one and they say action and drive. You had to trust Stephen's sort of vision, and whatever his vision was, whatever might go wrong, let's keep it in, let's keep going.
Let's cast our mind back to the Gaiety School of Acting. So that's where it all kind of began in terms of your training, and I trained in Trinity. But I remember saying to my parents, no, I wasn't going to do a normal job. I wanted to get into media or acting, because I began acting as well. You know, what's that like? You know yourself. You know there's the rejection. You know there's less than a 5% chance you're going to get employment. But yet we all still go for these jobs. What was the drive, Mo, to go, this is my profession, this is my calling?
I suppose it was watching heroes of mine on screen, and when I was in second year, I remember watching Tigerland with Colin Farrell and being just in awe of that character he played and the rebel that he played, and realising that, I think he was a Texan, maybe, realising that he was from Ireland, and I was only maybe 12 or 13 at the time, and seeing what's possible, and then looking at my heroes from American movies, and seeing their trajectory, that a lot of them sort of went against the grain and had to say, oh, I'm going to try this. And the support bubble that was there, my folks were amazing.
Good.
When I was
that's important.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad was in the army and my mum was a teacher, and I always thought I might do one or the other. The leaving cert points didn't kind of work out.
Didn't work out for me, Mo. We're
Did
on the
they
same,
not?
but my
Here we
parents
are.
are teachers as well.
That's
so I just decided, I'll go into media.
Right, yeah. So there's that. There was that, and trying and failing, and sometimes people saying, oh no, you can't do that.
Or people maybe saying, sorry to cut you there, people saying, listen, you've enough now, you've tried, there's no jobs coming, do you want to leave it?
Exactly.
Has that
yeah,
come up as well?
You better leave that alone now, you've tried, but that sort of spurs you on sometimes. And it still spurs me on. It spurred me on with Night Ride. It spurs me on with getting through this whole 2 years, just believing in you can do it.
Absolutely. I mean, you obviously had another, a wonderful thing happen to you. Fatherhood came along as you were kicking off your acting career. And believe you me, folks, that would not be easy, because jobs, the phone doesn't always ring as an actor, especially when you're straight out of college. So, that must have been a very different kind of trajectory for you to become a father, but also wanting to have your career soar. Were you discombobulated a bit as well? Were you a little torn at the beginning when all that happened? Yeah.
Of course I was. Yeah, of course I was. I just got out of acting school, and there's anybody who just comes out of acting school is discombobulated and unsure about the world that they're going to get into, and what does an agent mean, or what does a showcase mean, or what kind of version should I present of myself, and how am I going to make ends meet? How am I going to get the jobs coming through? And in a way, I mean, Charlie's 12 now. It's just been a huge blessing.
Part 2 of my interview with Mo Dunford is coming up after a look at the new Viking epic flick, The Northman, starring Nicole Kidman and Anya Taylor-Joy, who tells us why filming in Northern Ireland for this movie was magical.
Now, behold.
Mother! Father is here! The king, my lady. The king.
You must choose between kindness for your kin or hate for your enemies.
Their strength breaks men's bones. I have the cunning to break their minds. I'm so happy to be working back in Northern Ireland. I did a movie here a couple of years ago and completely fell in love with the people and the scenery. I'm I'm a big nature lover, so being on the side of a mountain overlooking incredible views and that being what you're looking at when someone's setting up the next shot, that's my happy place. So yeah, some truly extraordinary sights have been seen, but I'm not good at taking photographs, and I should be. I just want to drink it all in with my eyes. I know we've been so lucky. It really makes it magical.
I will kill you, Philip.
Here's part 2 of my exclusive sit-down interview in Space 2 with actor Mo Dunford. The Irish acting community both here and in Hollywood is immense. But is there a sense of camaraderie, and do the actors look after each other? For Mo, is there a support system between yous all?
I still have my best friends from the Gaiety. Like, they're still my best pals. They're writers, they're directors, they're actors, and we're still very close. So we've maintained that bunch. And then the years ahead of us, you acknowledge that not everybody can be working all the time, and that's just part and parcel. Charlie Murphy was in the year ahead of me, you know, in college. Sarah Green was 2 years ahead of me. It just shows how small the industry is, and we've all become close knit, and you have to accept that, like, you're not going to be working at any given time for certain lengths, you know, throughout the year.
So what do you do?
But it's supportive. It's very supportive. It's really supportive. The only thing that I was really sad about was the lack of theatre over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
The lack of that support. TV and film was thriving. I was getting asked to do mad auditions. An IRA series here written by a fella in Belgium, a thing there. And, you know, there comes a point where you go, no, certain things have to take precedence, you know. I say I won't audition for that, but I'll gladly chat to you.
Listen, Mo, I have to pull you up on something, right? Because I read that you do not like the fame game. And what I mean by the fame game is, you know, being here, doing press, doing interviews, doing chats, no matter how much we know each other, you know, and having that comfortable space. What is it about fame that kind of turns you off? What is it? Is it the notoriety, or is it just people wanting to know more about you, your love life, or your, you know, what your next project is, blah, 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 blah?
That's not pulling me up on anything. That's a normal question.
It is a normal question. But the thing is, but you're happily sitting here with me today.
Why do you think you're pulling me up, Lisa?
Well, just, you say you don't like it, but then you have to do press days, right? You can't, well, I read it in The Sun, so it must be true.
It must be.
When, you know, you'd kind of express that fact of, like, oh, God, you know, fame game, it is a drudgery, I get that, but...
I suppose it's the likes of The Sun is the reason why I don't like it, to be honest with you. I suppose it's those rags that can take anything out of context and put it up there. I suppose I can live a much happier life, not being distracted by any of that in interviews, and just get on with the work. And the past 2 years have taught me that.
Yeah.
And have privacy.
But then your privacy goes, the bigger you become. I mean, obviously, we've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix now. We also have Night Ride on you know, streaming on Netflix. You know, people want to know who you're dating, where you are. That becomes then an other offshoot to the work that you do. And how do you cope with that? Like, are you bothered, or do you kind of say, look, it is what it is. If people want to know who I'm with or not with, I can live with that.
You just give them the answers you want to give them.
Which is no comment.
Well,
or not. I mean, can you divulge?
People can ask as many questions as they like, but it doesn't mean that you have to answer them, because it's not important, and it's just the work is important, and privacy and the privacy of your family is important, and also know that we're Irish, and actually quite lucky that we're Irish, because we haven't been ruined yet in that way with media. There's a support group there. We all know one another here in Ireland. I did a rake of press there yesterday, and there's a lot of guys that care about film. Michael Doherty, is one, and I love chatting to these people. But
that other henpecking intrusiveness about, you know, who's your now girl on your arm or whatever. I mean, does that get a bit much at times?
She's dying to know.
I'm not dying to know. I'm sure everyone else is dying to know. I just was wondering, does that annoy you? Do you know what I mean? Do you kind of go, oh?
I don't get asked.
Ah, well, you've just been asked. So Mo, I wanted to ask you about your co-stars because in Texas Chainsaw Massacre you have Elsie Fisher, whom I interviewed, and Bo Burnham, I interviewed him as well. He's the director of Eighth Grade. She is a phenomenal actress, so much so, of course, she was nominated for a Golden Globe for performance. And then you have Sarah Yarkin, you know, cast that have been in Outlander and Happy Death Day to you, really young but up and coming talent. What's that like? Getting stuck in, because you had a lot of scenes with them.
They're so talented. Like their youth is one thing, but it's like they're amazing. They have, like, Elsie has this world knowledge, just a big role model to kids out there in America. And she also set up her own film festival as a direct response to the Emmys and the Oscars. She wanted to set up her own film festival for stuff that she liked, movies that she thought were underrated or overlooked, and she set it up, and it was online, and she was in Despicable Me, and she has. I love her, and we became really great friends. And I sort of went off grid over in Bulgaria. I haven't really chatted about that, but when we were shut down for a while over there, I just hired a car and driving on the other side of the road and put it out there to whatever cast who wanted to join me, and Elsie was sign me up. We drove all over Bulgaria and
that
back.
Would have been a movie in itself.
Oh, I tell you, Lisa. There you go. I mean, that's a question now.
Yeah.
Never mind the ragtag stuff, but that's a story there. And Jacob Lattimore, who's Dante in the movie, he was in The Maze Runner. He's a star.
Mo perfected a southern accent in the movie with the help of a dialect coach, but it wasn't easy.
I love the Texans. I love their old school approach for a lot of them. I love that it won't take them very long to get the measure of you. And I wanted to represent Richter in that way, so that he's not so yeehaw.
Well, he was very scary, but
there was an arc there, so it was fun. Back at the Gaiety, my best friend, we went out for a smoke on our break. And he was looking at me, he was like, I guarantee you, Dunford, I guarantee you, your first American role, do you know what your first line will be? You ain't from round these parts, sorry. I was like, get out of here. Don't put me in that box, get out of here.
And there you are.
And then I show up after a hiatus in Texas, and there's a rewrite, and it says, Richter's line, you ain't from round these parts. And I was like, oh, Jesus.
Ah, brilliant.
So I got them to cross that out, it was too on the nose. But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun to play a Texan.
So Mo, my final question. My final question. Barry Keoghan said to me once, actor Barry Keoghan said that he would love to work with specific directors, Paul Greengrass, Martin Scorsese, Spielberg, and although the list is iconic, fair play to him, he's working through that list. Tell me who you'd like to work with.
Barry's working through that list. Barry's incredible. Barry has a little notebook with these directors' names on it.
He does. He has got, what you call it, visualization?
He visualises.
Yes, good on him.
And he's amazing. And they've come true. I would love to work with Aisling Walsh. I've been such a fan of the work that she makes. And I love Maudie with Ethan Hawke. I thought it was magical. I'd like to work with more female directors because I've never been directed in a movie by a female. Been directed in TV, and it's amazing what they bring out on on a show like Vikings. The stuff they can bring out, which isn't all, what you might go to the obvious approach.
Alpha male.
Yeah, all of that. I'd love to work with Aisling. I think she's amazing. I've been a fan of Spielberg. Since I was.
Oh, who is?
Jesus, who hasn't? I mean, come on, who hasn't? I mean, Steven Spielberg is incredible. I love Peter Weir, all the work of Peter Weir. I love George Miller, and I love Mel Gibson as a director. I think he's incredible. He's an incredible director.
Wow, brilliant. I wasn't expecting you to say that. Well, that is absolutely brilliant. And listen...
Just as guys I admire, and people I admire.
Well, listen, Mo, long may all your endeavours reign. You are doing so well at the moment on a crestable wave. I can't wait for everyone to see all of that we've talked about today, not only Night Ride, but Texas Chainsaw.
Thank you,
and best of luck, and we'll have you back on the show again soon.
Cool, great.
Well, that's it for this week. But coming up on next week's show, I talk exclusively to supermodel Sophie Anderton in Space 2, all about her life on and off the catwalk and how different it was modelling with Naomi, Helena and Claudia Schiffer, all the supermodels of the 1990s.
It was a wonderful time. Fashion was really fun. It was extravagant, it was glamorous, it was excessive, but it was, I look back at the 90s and it was true glamour.
I'll be back again here next week at the Stella Cinema, shining a light on all the entertainment that matters. Spotlight in association with Space 2.